On today's season preview, part 3.
The questions continue as we debate which player is under the most pressure to perform.
What about the team feeling the pressure? Our defensive player of the year picks and questionable offseason moves.
And we grill Lily on the hot seat about the league's biggest villain.
The starter 72 burning questions starts now.
Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to part 3 of the Starters NBA season preview. Whether you're listening to this on iTunes, catching it on YouTube, watching live right now on NBA TV, we're happy to have you across all platforms. I'm J.E. Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tass Mellis.
Let's NBA! Oh, it was loud. It scared you.
Yeah. Wow.
To his right,
Quit yawning. Wake up.
to his right, it's the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friend.
Yep, Lily,
Lele.
you are a friend. And last, certainly not least, a member of the Wyatt family, Trey Kirby.
Hey!
Oh, there
We're
we go.
here. It's a Wyatt thing.
Oh, nice. We're continuing to tackle our 72 burning questions about the upcoming NBA season. You see a few of them up there on the board. If you missed part 1 or 2, hey, go back. Go to the YouTube machine, fire it up, watch them, enjoy them. Just don't read the comments.
No, they're good. They were
Read the
good
comments.
yesterday.
Oh, yeah,
They were good for
ball down
yesterday's
there.
show, yeah.
They're talking ball. But let's keep this party going here. Question number 17. We ask you to play along on Twitter, hashtag the starters, with your answers. Question 17, guys. There's a good one. Which player is under the most pressure this season?
To start this answer off, I'm going to ask a question to you guys. Did Blake Griffin play in the league last season? Because to me, it didn't seem like he did.
Yeah, he played like 30 games.
I know. He played like 30 games. He had the incident
Yep.
with the equipment manager. He got injured. He had the quad injuries. But it just seemed like that year of his career evaporated, went poof.
Yeah.
In the middle of a fantastic career, it's time to get back on track. I mean, this is potentially a Hall of Fame career, and that's what he has to do to start this year. He just has to come back.
Yeah, and like you're saying, Tass, his reputation is kind of at an all-time low right now because of what happened with their trainer last year and missing, the greater part of the Clippers season. You read the open letter Clippers fans he wrote on Players Tribune. He straight up says last season sucked, that he's truly sorry and that he thinks about it every day. Not to mention he started showing up in trade rumors basically for the first time ever last season and over the summer. So I think he's definitely under pressure this year, basically to show everybody that he's still a superstar, because when he did play last year, averaged 21 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 5 assists. He was great. He might be the Clippers' best player. It's between him and Chris Paul, obviously. I think he gives them a huge new element when he grabs the ball and he pushes up the court. That's something Chris Paul wants to see some more. So I think as long as Blake can stay healthy, kind of stay pretty chill, people are going to get back on board with Blake Griffin because he is an awesome player to watch and he's one of the better players in the NBA.
Yeah, teams and fans are more forgiving if there's an injury that takes place, but that incident that happened in Toronto, people are less forgiving for because it was more of a silly off-the-court incident that
Which
cost
he has
him.
admitted.
Yeah,
Definitely.
there's no doubt about that, but it cost him a significant amount of time. So I think that's what he has to really put behind him and just get back to being the guy who finished third in MVP voting a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that wasn't long ago. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Do you go with Blake Griffin as well, Lee? Do you have someone else?
I'm going with Derrick Rose, actually, from the New York Knicks. I think he's actually playing for his career in a lot of ways this season. He's going to a new team, a new situation, and it's one of the toughest markets he can possibly find himself in New York. And he hasn't got a lot of time to take control of that position as a starting point guard for the Knicks. A, because he's dealing with an off-court issue at the moment as well, so he's not playing. He's not getting that playing in-game conditioning. And B, the Knicks have also signed Brandon Jennings, who is hungry to get out there and prove that he is also still an NBA starting caliber point guard in this league. And so far in a couple of preseason games, Brandon Jennings, the crowd loves him already.
Yeah.
He's one of those emotional
And the chance.
Yeah. So, that's the thing for Derrick Rose is he has to get out there and start playing and show that he can still be an all-star caliber guard. He's only 28, but he's an old 28 given the injuries that he's had.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go with Dwight Howard as a guy under pressure, a guy you talked a little bit about, Tass, on the hot seat. He signed a new deal with the Hawks, 3 years, $70 million. I just think he needs to rehabilitate his image, and he's talked about this as well. And coming home to Atlanta, where he's from the state of Georgia, should in theory help. He says he's old enough and mature enough now to deal with that. But this guy really, when you start to think about it, it's going to be the first time since 2012 that he's actually the franchise leader, the face of a franchise. Back to the Orlando days,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
When he's with the Lakers, it's Kobe. When he was with the Rockets, it's Harden. I don't think you can really put Howard above him. Now with Atlanta, no disrespect to Paul Millsap, who is an all-star and a great player, it's Dwight's team.
Yeah, on the website, he's in the middle.
Yeah, and they're going to sell that as such. And he needs to play, again, to get back being an all-star. 16, 12, 18, 12, whatever he can give them. But he needs to, to get rid of, fair or not, he got tossed with the locker room cancer.
Definitely.
I mean, he definitely did. And he needs to shake that and show that he can win a lot of games and can be a contributor.
I just don't think there's a ton of pressure on Dwight because there aren't a lot of expectations for Dwight Howard at this point. I think Dwight, Derrick Rose, they're past the prime of their career. And at this point, you start with your fourth team here with Dwight Howard. There's a distinguishable line. The prime of your career, that's gone. And now we can start as a guy who plays D.
He's only 30.
I know. I think the guy's a Hall of Famer. I think he'll get there. I think he's the best center of this generation. But at this point, there's just not a lot of pressure. I just feel like the average fan out there didn't even know that Dwight went to Atlanta. I think he's one of the best centers in the league.
I do think the rehabbing your image angle is a big deal
Yes.
for Dwight, though. Coming home and playing in a Hawks system that is based a lot on team culture and sharing the ball, just everybody seems to get along on the Hawks. I think that if he can fit into that sort of Hawks system and way of just playing with the rest of the teammates, that'll be a huge thing for his image.
The Hawks sacrificed Al Horford to get him. They wanted to keep Horford, but when they went for Dwight, they realized they probably were going to lose Al Horford. I think there is pressure on him from Atlanta because we gave up Al Horford, who's been in here forever, a great consistent player, an all-star, and now they need that from Dwight. If Dwight doesn't perform, certainly defensively, then the Hawks are really going to drop off in the East.
They wanted to keep Al Horford first and foremost, right?
Well, no, but they went and signed Dwight before they dealt with Al Horford.
Yeah, it seemed like Al was gone. But at the same time, he's trying to rehab his image, and it showed when he came on TNT.
Oh, absolutely.
With Kenny and Charles, and he got grilled in April for 14 was awkward moments.
Yeah,
but
he handled it well.
He handled it really well.
All right, well, here's a bonus question. We talk players under pressure. Which team is under the most pressure? Who do you think?
We talked about Blake Griffin there. It seems like it's the same story coming into the season every year with the Clippers. Will this be the last run for Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan? Is it over? And now, at the end of this season, it could literally be over because Chris Paul can say no to the player option and get out of there. Same goes for Blake Griffin. They could be gone. JJ Redick is also a free agent.
Yeah.
So Paul's 32 years of age this season. If they don't get to a conference finals, because Chris Paul has never gotten there, if they don't advance there, at this advanced stage of Chris Paul's career, will he say, it's time to go? It feels like this is it for this iteration of the Clippers.
You're absolutely right. For the last couple of years, there's been a ton of talk about breaking up the Clippers.
Yeah.
Should they do it? And I guess my hypothetical question for you guys, if they do struggle out of the gate, let's say they just struggle for whatever reason, they should be good. Do you look at, as the Clippers organization, to move one of these guys to get something back in return instead of losing some of them to free agency? And if so, who would you look to move? That's a tough question, but who would you pick?
I think it definitely makes more sense to make a trade during the season this year rather than last year, which is when these questions kind of started popping up because the Clippers are not going to be going up against the Warriors. The Clippers could have their best season of all time and still fall short of what the Warriors are doing this year. So if things go poorly, I wouldn't be too surprised to see somebody be on the market.
Yeah, you see.
Well, who?
Well, it's got to
Who do you
be
trade?
it's got to be
Chris Paul.
CP3, yeah.
Yeah.
Blake Griffin's
because
younger.
of age.
Yeah.
And you see Kevin Durant walking for nothing for the Thunder. I think teams are looking at that now and going, guys, we'll leave.
Yeah.
We can't afford to lose these guys for nothing. So if you can get someone to throw a big first-round draft pick or something like that, and Chris Paul's on the table, you might want to consider that if you want to start rebuilding. But if you trade him for a pick, then you probably think, well, there's no point in keeping Blake either. We may as well start a whole rebuild.
And again, I only think they sort of explore this idea if
things
someone
are going
gets
bad.
injured
Yeah,
or things go bad or something
Yeah.
they just fall apart completely. Otherwise, they're happy with this core. They're going to run it back, and
It's
they
a
think
great core.
if the breaks fall their way for once, they'd have a good chance to go to the final.
And we talked about in our season preview part 2, this team deals with the Warriors fairly well. I mean, they had last year, even in their 4 matchups, they had leads late in games. But as you said, if you lose to the Warriors, you lose to the Warriors, and maybe they got to move on. It's crazy to think that.
Let's hear from you guys. Which players and teams are under the most pressure heading into this season? Let us know on Twitter, #TheStarters. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to debate who will be this season's defensive player of the year. A lot of good candidates. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Starters 72 Burning Questions NBA season preview. We got a lot of questions to go. Lee's going to hit the hot seat a little bit later, but question number 18 right now, guys. It's a mean question, okay? It's a mean question. What was the worst offseason move?
I'm going to say this one isn't the worst offseason move, but it's a confusing move. Jeff Green to the Orlando Magic for $15 million. It doesn't make any sense to me. The Orlando Magic also got Bismack Biyombo, 4 years, $72 million. They traded for Serge Ibaka, a young guy, Victor Oladipo, going the other way. They are huge. Those two big guys, along with Vucevic there in the front court. There aren't minutes for Jeff Green in the 4 or 5 spot. He's going to have to play the 3 spot. That means he's going to take away minutes from Aaron Gordon, who is their best player, their player with the most potential, he's better than Jeff Green right now. So it doesn't make any sense to me to go get Jeff Green, to take away minutes from Aaron Gordon at this point. I love Jeff Green. We've all wanted him to succeed throughout his NBA career. But this is his 10th season. This is going to be his 5th NBA team.
Wow.
At 30 years of age. Yeah, he still seems young, right? Yeah. For some odd reason. I mean, he still gets up and throws it down. But why take minutes away from a guy in Aaron Gordon, where you had some problems last year in that locker room, in the Orlando locker room? Scott Skiles didn't really get along with Elfrid Payton. You know, he was sort of ostracized, didn't feel like he was getting the most out of himself there. You don't want that for Aaron Gordon. Mario Hezonja is another guy that Jeff Green will just inevitably take minutes for. It doesn't make sense. 1 year, $50 million. That's a contract that, to me, you're taking a flyer on a guy who might succeed. But Jeff Green, at this point of his career, there's just no real point.
All right, Jeff Green, who you got, Trey?
I'm looking sideways at the Blazers giving Evan Turner 4 years and $70 million. You're looking sideways, Leo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't mind the money. Everybody got crazy money this year. It's the fit that's really confusing to me because Evan Turner, like we've seen throughout his career, is the best with the ball in his hands, and so are the Blazers' best two players, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. You want one of them at least on the court most of the time, and like we saw in Indiana, Evan Turner can be a pretty tricky player.
Pretty tricky
It really makes
Rubio.
you think when you hear that, but he's a tricky player to integrate because he's got to have the ball in his hands. It didn't work in Indiana. It did work in Boston.
Yeah.
But the Blazers also brought back Alan Crabb for 4 years, gave him similar money to Evan Turner,
It's like
and they
70
brought
million,
back Mo Harkless. So they now have
Yeah.
the second highest payroll in the league, and they're maybe the 4th best team in the West, and all their guys play the same position. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but Terry Stotts is a great coach.
Yeah.
You can't have too many playmakers. That being said, if things go poorly, I can see Evan Turner being a trade candidate come December.
All right,
Yeah.
Lee, what about you? Who you got? Worst offseason move?
I'm going with Timofey Mozgov for the LA Lakers. They signed him pretty much as soon as the the deadline started at midnight. They signed him 4 years, $65 million. Now, to me, he's 30 years old, and this is a rebuilding team, so he might have some sort of a role there, but his position is kind of being phased out right now. There's no one really playing that same position as he. Teams are trying to go small.
You mean just the old big center?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's not. He was okay, not last season, the season before in the
Yeah,
finals.
LeBron
was pumped when they got him.
Yeah, but then last season he barely played at all. Right?
Injuries were a huge part
They
of
were,
that.
but they also sort of didn't need him out there. And when I look at the Lakers, they've got Randall, they've got Brandon Ingram and D'Angelo Russell, a young team building. So maybe a veteran presence who's been to the finals can help in that respect. But 4 years, 65 is a lot of money to give him for that role.
Is it a lot of money, though?
Well,
I know it sounds insane.
I mean, the commitment of 4 years, I don't think they needed to commit for that long. I think a 2-year deal would have been there for them.
All right, the worst offseason move for me, I got to go with Harrison Barnes, going to the Mavericks for 4 years, 94. The max. Harrison Barnes, max contract player. I don't buy it. And it really was. And look, it wasn't the Mavs' plan A,
No.
at least, right? They tried for other guys, Conley and Batum and Hassan Whiteside. So they sort of ended up with Harrison Barnes. Like, okay, I guess we got to give him a max. And what they're banking on here is that, you know, he has like some crazy breakout. And now he's still very young. He's 24 years old. But what we saw last year, especially, of course, in the playoffs where he suddenly couldn't hit a shot, I think you're asking a little too much from him to be eventually when Dirk goes, your best player. You know, you're giving him the max deal. That's what they're hoping.
They kind of did the
I don't
same
think it's
thing
gonna
with Wes Matthews last year, paying him a huge contract when he probably didn't quite earn that sort of money.
But I feel better with Wesley Matthews the way he plays and what he's going to contribute than I do with Harrison Barnes.
Yeah,
What have you seen from Harrison Barnes that makes you say, oh, this guy definitely
well, for me,
a max player?
For me, in that Golden State Warriors system, he was always the 4th guy, so it was always hard for him to establish any sort of a routine. Now in Dallas, you expect him to be maybe 2nd or 3rd option and should get a lot more shots and a lot more opportunity. I think that's what the Mavs are banking on. Because when you've got Steph and Clay and Andre
You
and
get
Draymond,
nothing but open shots.
Yeah, but a lot of the time those shots he didn't know when they were coming, so he had to be ready all the time.
Well, that's what they're hoping for.
Yeah, I know. That's why I think the Mavs threw that money at him.
All right, guys, next question here. Award-based question. Who wins Defensive Player of the Year?
I think it's Draymond Green's year.
Really?
Last 2 years,
Wow.
he's
Wow.
been runner-up to Kawhi Leonard, and this is just the year where he gets distinguished as the centerpiece for this team. With Andrew Bogut gone, Draymond Green is looked at as the guy who makes it happen, and he's going to play more center, and Kawhi Leonard's won it 2 years in a row. It's only happened once in NBA history where a Defensive Player of the Year has won it 3 times in a row. It's just hard.
Yeah, I'm with Tass. I think that Draymond is going to really show even how more integral he is this year because the Warriors' small units are going to be even better than they were last year, and those aren't really even possible without Draymond being able to play center. And like you said, Tass, he finished second the past 2 years. It's got to be time that he finally comes out on top.
The problem is, though, the Warriors could get, when you statistically, numbers-wise, they could be worse defensively.
That's true.
So
That's
that
why
won't
he's going to
hurt-
get it.
That won't hurt.
Because they're going to be
It
good.
won't help his case.
Yeah, if they're bad. Yeah.
You said it's hard to win 3 in a row. That's why I think Kawhi Leonard is going to win it because he is, in my opinion, easily the best defender in the league. On-ball defender. He's a great help defender. He guards multiple players, multiple positions. Players are actually terrified when he comes out to
That's
try to
definitely
defend them.
true.
He can block shots. He can steal the ball, and he turns fast breaks on himself by getting deflections, getting steals, and the Spurs go down and score the other way. Sometimes he just takes it himself and goes down and throws down a dunk. I just think we haven't seen a guy as good a defender as him for a long, long time. I think this award is going to be his. When his career's done, he could win 7
I was
or
going
8.
to say, if you have him winning 3 in a row,
Yeah.
what's stopping him from 4, 5, 6, 7? Honestly.
Nothing. He's so young.
Change the trophy to a claw right now.
Yeah.
See, I think the Spurs defense is actually going to drop off quite a bit this year without Tim Duncan being there, with Pau Gasol slotting in. It's not just Duncan either. They're also losing Boris Diaw, who was a super versatile defender. Pau's going to be able to make up for those guys offensively, but on the boards and playing D, that's not necessarily what you want Pau at this year.
My head
good
says
point.
my head says Kawhi Leonard, but my heart says Rudy Gobert. Let's give it back to a big guy. Let's go with the 17th
Hey, had
Frenchman
enough.
Yeah.
on the Jazz.
Hey,
No,
Draymond Green's big.
Rudy Gobert, he missed 21 games last year, okay? And he was still second in the league defensive box score plus minus rating, only trailing Tim Duncan. He was right up there in defensive rating. He was top 10 in that as well. Again, this was missing 21 games. I think if the Jazz win a lot more games than they did last year, which a lot of people are expecting, maybe the 50-win mark, and they're a top 5 defense, he's going to get a lot of consideration. So I'll go with Gobert. 2 guys, Tass and Trey, say Draymond Green, and see Lee there going with Kawhi Leonard.
The expanded stats have really helped Rudy Gobert to show the impact that he has.
Oh, he is the best rim protector in the league.
Yeah,
he really
for sure.
is. But let's hear from you guys on Twitter who you got winning Defensive Player of the Year. When we come back, Lily, it's your turn on the hot seat, mate.
Oh, let's do it.
You gonna wear a tank top?
Hope you wear a cup.
Welcome back to The Starters. 72 burning questions about the upcoming NBA season. We're up to question number 20, but these next 5 cues are just for the Australian Lee Ellis over on the hot seat, where it seems hot.
Yeah, this is not too bad actually. I'm from Australia. I'm used to it.
You can take your shirt off if you want.
Pop it off.
Maybe not. Maybe not. All right. These 5 questions for you, Lee. Here, first one. What's your most anticipated milestone?
Dirk Nowitzki this season is going to break through the 30,000 point milestone, which is an incredible achievement. Now, he's not actually going to overtake anyone on the all-time scorers list to do it, but I still think that doesn't really take away from the fact that he's going to be only the 6th guy ever to reach that milestone. Now, if he plays for another 2 seasons, which he is contracted to do, and he produces at the same rate he has for the last 2 or 3 seasons, he's going to finish his career 4th all-time. He's actually going to overtake Michael Jordan. He's about 3,000, not quite 3,000 points behind Jordan. So Dirk could still do it. I mean, he's still got that beautiful jump shot, and I hope he gets there by the end of his career.
All right. Next one here. Who is the league's biggest villain?
I'm actually going with a team, and it's the Golden State Warriors. They have all the ingredients of what makes up a villainous team in my mind. They have the player that everybody loves to hate in Draymond Green. They also were already a fantastic team last year. We know they fell short just in the finals, but they went out and signed the best free agent possible this season in Kevin Durant. Every other team was so jealous that they got that. And also, the Warriors are good and they know it, and they tell you about it as well. And why not? When you win 73 regular season games, you've got the crowd involved, you've got the fans involved. Everybody wants what the Golden State Warriors have.
All right. I like that pick. Next one here. It's an award-based prediction here, Lee. Who wins Coach of the Year?
I'm going with Brad Stevens from the Boston Celtics. In his 3 seasons so far as coach, he's improved the team significantly every year. They won 48 games last season. A lot of people feel that the Celtics this year are the 2nd best team in the Eastern Conference. And if that's the case and they win around 50 to 55, maybe even more, 56, 57 games, I think Brad Stevens gets the recognition that he deserves. He's a very, very smart guy. He's a player's coach. Guys love playing for him. And I think the Celtics are improved this year with the addition of Al Horford. So I think it's going to be Stevens.
All right, this next cue, right in your wheelhouse. Get those thumbs ready. Which team do you think is going to lead the league in very solid plays?
Staying with the Boston Celtics, actually.
Wow.
This is one of the reasons why I think Brad Stevens has such success as a coach. His players love playing for him. They all buy into his system. and they all move the ball around so well. The Celtics, we know, don't have that superstar player, but they more than compensate for that by everybody contributing and everybody fizzing that ball around the perimeter to get high percentage looks. They're always one of the first teams that I look for the very solid play, and I think they're going to do it this year.
Oh, so that's why they're going to get it. You just look for Boston Celtics players.
Yeah, that's exactly
I'm
right.
lazy.
Spoiler.
All right, final one here for you, Lee, on the hot seat, and it's actually inspired by you taking down former NBA players in shooting contests. First, it was Kendall Gill.
Got him!
In a three-point shootout contest. You beat him. Then next, it was Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas in a little shootout during the finals.
Hey, Zeke, come shoot with me. Hey, Zeke.
So Lee, you've taken down Gill, you've taken down Zeke. We want to know which former player will you beat next in a shooting contest?
Well, you might remember this year at Summer League, we had Australian basketball royalty Andrew Gaze on the show, and he showed that back in 2001 during the Goodwill Games, he took on TNT's own Kenny the Jet Smith in a three-point shootout, and he beat the Jet.
Okay.
So I'm going to give Kenny a chance at some sort of revenge. He can take on a guy from Australia in a three-point shootout, but this time the Jet's going to have home court advantage. So Jet, if you're up for it, I know you've been in China. No excuses, let's do it. We can do it anytime you want.
There's the
TNT
challenge.
Studios,
I love it.
NBA TV studios, anytime.
The challenge is set. The Jet versus the Australian. All right, great job, Lee, on the hot seat. We got to take one more break, but when we come back, you, the Starters fans, you pick the Defensive Player of the Year favorite. Don't go anywhere. "24 of our 72 burning questions up on the board. We've had a lot of fun last couple days here.
A lot of strings.
A lot of strings, yeah. That's how you know we're getting close to cracking this case. Yesterday, we asked Trey, who is the NBA's best cannonballer? Your answer, Trey?
Blake Griffin
Yeah, beautiful Photoshop.
got the hops and the creativity and the personality.
Well, Blake Griffin saw the show.
What?
Yeah, because you challenged him to a C-ball splash off.
Throwdown, yeah.
And he says, oh, it's on like Donkey Kong. Blake Griffin, hashtag C-ball. And so Trey Kirby versus Blake, we gotta set the date.
I didn't know it was going to be a competition. I saw a clip of Blake doing a backflip into a body of water, and now I'm shaking in my boots.
Oh, man.
My flip-flops, really.
All right, we asked you, the Starters fans out there on Twitter, who do you think wins Defensive Player of the Year? 54% of you say Kawhi Leonard for the third year running.
Repeat.
He's a low-hanging fruit on this award, I think.
Definitely a chance. Tomorrow, part 4 of our NBA season preview series, who is the toughest team to predict? Who will have the best comeback story? And I take my first crack at the hot seat to answer such questions like, who's my favorite old guy?
Me?
Lee Ellis, for sure. Oh, you're my least favorite old guy. No, just kidding. So that's part 4 tomorrow of 72 Burning Questions, 5:30 p.m. Eastern on NBA TV.
Thanks for joining us, and remember, to feel great, just sing, 'cause I'm C-ballin'.
Embrace the night, people.